The journalist Declan Lynch once described Tullamore as a Babylon in the bog. Stringfellow's nightclub and Spiders across the road were thronged at weekends during the 80s. Lynch was stunned by the revelry, the exuberance, and yes, the debauchery. Christy May, who owned the Bridge House, was unsure if the description was an insult or a compliment, but ultimately decided it was good for business and had the piece framed. As Declan's guide on the night he visited, I had no problem with the term Babylon, but would have preferred less emphasis on the bog. Being from Westmeath, Declan seemed to have a slight superiority complex when it came to Offaly. I was determined to prove that, far from being a poor relation, Tullamore was even more cosmopolitan than his native Athlone, which always seemed to have pretensions above her station. I'd always wanted to be a journalist and had a natural curiosity. One of my 7 sisters christened me the Ballylin Express because of my love of news and gossip. When I applied for Rathmines, I had to write an essay on why I wanted to be a journalist. I still blush as I recall writing that I wanted to help change the world. My father, a county councillor, once came home to find me interrogating a Senate election candidate, Michael Butler Yeats, on what it was like to be the son of a famous poet. I was 13 at the time. On graduating from the College of Commerce in 1981, I joined the staff of the Tullamore Tribune. From a dingy office in Church Street, I learned my trade, and much more, from Jeff Oakley and the inimitable Mary T. Bracken, fondly remembered for her good humour and sharp wit. With limited resources, there was no opportunity for investigative journalism, but I developed an intimate knowledge and appreciation of life in a provincial town. Under Jeff's editorship, the paper was courageous, often challenging the consensus. In his editorials on the divorce referendum and the Eighth Amendment, he adopted a liberal line. He was also scrupulous in ensuring that all sides were treated fairly. Despite the editor's commitment to fairness, I once received a clerical dressing down from Father Patrick Fallon for our coverage of a public meeting on the 1986 divorce referendum. A neighbouring curate had suggested that if Protestants wanted divorce, the state could introduce a separate form of marriage, especially for them. It was a newsworthy speech. Father Fallon insisted I had sought to belittle the curate. In a fit of indignation, he suggested that the fault lay with your Mr. Oakley, who, being a member of the Church of Ireland, was probably ultra-sensitive to the comments. I assured him that I had written the story without direction, and it accurately reflected what the curate had said. "Ah, yes," Father Fallon thundered, "but are you sure that that is precisely what he meant?" Father Fallon was unmoved when I recalled the advice of Midland Tribune editor Jimmy Fanning, when yet another cleric complained about coverage of comments made by Judge Oliver Macklin concerning the state of St Mary's Hall, Ferban. The priest was unimpressed by the judge's criticism of the temporary courtroom, and even less impressed by the report written by veteran journalist Bud Burke. He asked me to convey his comments to Mr. Fanning. Fanning was apoplectic. "Tell Father Tynan he can edit my Tribune when he allows James Ignatius Fanning to hear confessions." My favourite memory of Tullamore concerns a well-known sports personality, Noel McGee. Following the 1982 homecoming for the victorious Offaly football team, Noel had been late opening his William Street barber shop. Feeling fragile, his heart sank as his first customer, a hungover visiting cleric, demanded a shave. Noel's hand trembled, and unfortunately he drew blood from the priest. "What did you do?" I asked. "I decided that attack was the best form of defence." I looked him in the eye and said, "Father, do you not find that drinking alcohol makes the skin very tender?" Recently, the Tribune became a compact newspaper. The bogs of Offaly have become a tourist attraction. If there's a Babylon, it may now be found amid the swamps and marshes of a cutaway bog where my ancestors once laboured. These days, visitors flock to Lochbura, where the ghost of my father strolls with the manager who predicted I would never work for Portnamona, but would instead make a good journalist, because he thinks he knows everything and is good at nothing in particular.